Remember, yeah, you be guided on your answer by the amount of marks that is provided for that particular question. So this part two. So as I say, part one, create a new group under both of your systems. So one client, you can see there. So the one you have to create for your server one and client one. So that means one each, lah, right? So 2 marks only. Okay, so you know this should involve only about two commands, lah. But here, as you can see, right? Also want to add the following users who primary and so on, so on, so on, and the question continues, right? So you know that 70 marks. So you know there's going to be more than there will be a few commands here that you have to satisfy the question. All right. So that's the general rule. All right. So again, B, based on the answers given in question 1, A2, explain the concept. So this part is theory because it says explain the concept of the special file permission that you have applied. Okay. Right now. So what is this? Only owners can delete their own files in this directory. All files created belong to the group IT expert regardless of the user's primary GID. You still recall? Although the folders, or sorry, the directories and also the user groups are different, it's on purpose because it's not necessarily just you know, this particular type of permission is not in particular to a specific system directory, yeah, but it can be applied to any directory. It's up to you, right? So based on this one can delete and all files belong to the class of the user primary. This one give you that so you can see no access at all, have full access, and then can delete. Right? Sounds familiar? Anyone can remind the rest? Suspiciously sounds like the temp directory, right? Right? So recall back for that temp directory, and what is the concept of that? For the temp directory to work, everyone should be able to use the temp directory. Okay, and use by means of use means they can create files. Okay, and they can delete their own files, but they cannot delete other people's files. Okay, so that's the special file permission because temporary files is shared, especially the system temporary directory. Okay, it, you know, it's meant to be shared by multiple users. Okay, so you know, here you just explain that particular concept. All right. Okay, so moving on, question 2, differentiate between foreground and background process with relevant examples. So you know already, I think during our lecture last time we talked about background and foreground processes. Okay, so just give that you know, the information about foreground, background process. Relevant examples, you know, if you answer, you can give like the XI's examples because that's the one that we use in our slides, right? The XI's, right? Okay, yeah. Then moving on to B, you can see discuss how to restrict CPU time usage by a process. How do you restrict CPU time usage? By basically setting up its priority, right? So higher priority means the process can use the CPU more. That means the CPU time usage increases when you have higher priority. Lower priority means you have less access to the CPU, right? So that means your time usage is smaller. Okay, so in order to set priority, because here it says CPU time usage, but we understand that time usage is actually concerning priority of a process. So to restrict CPU time usage means to set process priority. So what command can you use to set a priority of process? Okay, it says discuss. You might give the command that you actually use to set the priority, or to start. For example, if you can also say that to start a process with a particular priority, you can use nice, right? Something like that. Okay, and also what kind of restriction there is when you do that. All right. Sometimes it's not so straightforward. The question, you have to understand the question. Here, I put what I mean is question 2b is talking about priority, but to test that you understand what priority means, is actually mention CPU time usage. If you cannot make the connection, then you don't realize it's talking about priority, then you can't answer already. Right? C again is a little bit theory. What's the purpose of this partition? Why do you need to create partition? Okay, so why can't you just use this just one whole hard disk, just one single partition, right? So, and then you ask to provide 2 examples of Linux partition. So usually you can put in the system, as in the installation, the Linux OS itself in that partition, and the other one is swap. So it becomes swap partition. Swap is the virtual memory, isn't it? Swap partition is where virtual memory is kept by Linux OS. Okay, so purpose to separate, right? To separate the functionality of the content of that particular partition. So you know, for example, like swap, you cannot mix with the normal file system. Okay, it's one of the hard rule in Linux. You cannot mix a swap partition basically with system. But what about normal files? Well, I give you example last time. Is about you want to separate the user data, user files, user directory with the operating system. So maybe operating system, you provide its own partition, and user data files directories in a different partition, right? So not only it becomes more secure, but secondly, performing an upgrade of the OS. Okay, if you ever need to fully reformat the OS partition, Linux the user partition is not affected. Right? So there are many other examples you can use, but these are the few examples that I can think of. All right. Explain the difference between permanent mount point, temporary mount point. Right. So this one you need to know. For the examples part, you need to basically give out the command, right? Temporary means you use the mount command. Okay. Permanent means the mount command itself, and the options have to be edited and inserted into the app step. You have to specifically mention what is the configuration file within the etc. So it's /etc/app step, right? So you have to basically declare this. Remember, why so detailed? Because it's 10 marks, right? Don't forget to mention mount point that is temporary. Okay, it's only mounted during the current run of the Linux. If you restart your OS, then the mounted directory will not be there anymore. Okay, it doesn't survive shutdown or restart. But permanent mount point is those directory or folders or partition are mounted, right, at the beginning, at the boot time of the operating system. All right. Okay, so let's go to question number 3. Suggest and explain 3 basic network diagnostic tools. Support your answer. So I just give you one. The rest you go and check. One, basically network diagnostic, right? Well, you've been using it in um, networking, yeah, which is ping actually, right? So support your answers with appropriate example. That means you provide the command, okay? And basically you say ping and explain what is ping and how is it used and what is it used for. Then give a command, example command lah, ping, and then you say, oh, IP address. So basically we want to find out whether that host computer with that IP address is responding or not. So if it responds, we know that it's online. If it doesn't respond, then we know that it's offline. Okay, example lah, yeah, right. So next, B1 and 2. B1, as a root user, explain with relevant examples how you could control user in accessing a secure shell SSH server. All right, so basically, both ways you can use the username authentication, or you can use the public private key authentication as well. Whichever you use, you can explain it how, for example, I take the authentication using the key. Yeah, it means you need to have authorized keys, and to authenticate another user, right? You have to copy it, right? Copy it over to the other users, the SSH folder, and if it's there already, the SSH server will recognize the user as authenticated. For example, that's one of ways of you can control user. This is easier if you have so many users that you don't want to manage one user in per user in particular, right? Using this method, no matter how many users, as long as you provide them with the authorized keys, they can basically create a session with your SSH server, right? And then write commands to establish SSH connection according to the following given scenario. So you are already given all this information, and most of you are able to answer the practical 2, establishing the SSH connection. So basically, you have to memorize those commands, okay, and make use of what is provided here, okay, as the variable for part of the options lah, for that command, right? Okay. Let's look at question 4. Okay, so this is logging. Okay, so talking about RSys log. So let's see. Log all critical message. Now, you see critical warning, info, errors. Let me bring up the particular RSys log. You actually need to remember so that you can answer. Let me bring it up here. Right. So we talk about RSys log. It has. Let me just put it this side so that I can see. So apart from critical warning and info errors, you have debug, you have notice, you have emergency. So these are all the priorities available for you, right? So I think it's under 300 slides 310. Okay, somewhere close to that, yeah, right? You can find the information and also commands. Yeah, right. So actually you have to memorize that part now. Okay, so based on the scenario given in question 1, write commands to configure NFS. Again, NFS is one of the file sharing that we did not test you on. So I'm not sure that it's going to come up or not. Uh, on top of Samba, it's probably a good idea for you to also learn how to set up NFS. Okay, so it says based on the scenario given in question 1, write command to configure. Let me just recall what is question 1 again. Okay, so question 1 is about user and user group. So basically, when you're here, right, you're going to use the similar setting for user and groups to configure NFS. Right. All right. So in NFS, for NFS configuration, you basically going to look at three kinds of files, /etc exports, /etc fstab, /etc sysconfig NFS. Right. So exports is where you put all the exported files and directories. Okay. And then fstab is basically you want to mount NFS directory, right, permanently. So you have to mount the NFS directory in your fstab. And then sysconfig NFS under etc also is where you use you use a setting to control things like RPC port and what other services that's listening. Okay. Okay, so if you want to look for that, I think it's under slide, yeah, starting from slide 284, right? 284. So in the etc exports, you can put in the NFS, what is it called? The NFS share. And then you can put in, yeah, it says FOA students, right? As your share. So /FOA/students. And then provide your IP. I think you can get it from question 1. And then access with root permission is allowed. All IO to the file system done synchronous. So access with RW, sync, because we want synchronous IO. And then make sure the NFS server will be started properly after a reboot. So which means you want to basically create the mounting and also the system control working. Okay. So remember, using mount is not permanent. So it says started automatically. This one is you have to use the syscontrol, but it says, so it doesn't actually ask. Yeah, here it says during system startup. So you don't use mount, but use the fstab, edit the fstab. But the command to mount it is the same as when you type mount lah, right? Make sure that -t is NFS. -t refers to the file system type. Okay, so mount to mount it is the -t NFS, yeah, but you have to set it in the fstab. All right, so that's about 16 marks. So that means there's a few configuration that you need to do. Right. So let's very quickly compare. You can do a comparison very quickly. So rsyslog came out here. Syslog also came out here. Is rsyslog. Basically, they're just a different version, right? And then NFS here. NFS here. Okay. I think this one doesn't come out in the December. Come out with Syslog. No, that's it. Huh? And then we have SSH here. Here, quota and mounting user ID. This one was asked in question 1. So basically, my advice is you grab all 3 question paper, do your own analysis on that. What kind of question comes out, the style of the question, and the coverage. So let's look at the third one here. This one, an older one, September, October 2020, 2021. So let's look at question number 1, right? Again, so hypervisor, I remember here got hypervisor. Does it have hypervisor? So yes, you can see question 1 here, hypervisor. So where can you get information about that? Very small info you can get from the installation guide. Okay, previously. Let me just very quickly show that. But more information you can get from the ebook lah, right? So we don't really talk too much about the hypervisor. I think we did, but not a lot of it inside the slides. But you can check your ebook also, right? So just to recall, yeah. Sometimes the bare metal hosted is a way to describe it, but technically, most literature will quote type 1 hypervisor or type 2 hypervisor. Just remember, the ones that you've been installing in your computer is basically a type 2 hypervisor. Okay, the hardware here represents your PC. Host OS represents your Windows OS. Okay, so my explanation here is based on what you've been using, okay, throughout the semester. And then your hypervisor running as an app on top of your OS, your Windows. This one could be VMware player or your VirtualBox. Okay, and then you install your whichever version, Ubuntu or Pop OS, okay, or CentOS on top of your VirtualBox or VMware. So you've been using type 2 hypervisor. Okay, so that means you can see if you feel that it's laggy or performance is not that great, it's better now because the hardware now, especially coming from Intel, already have some of the facilities for doing emulation inside its CPU, inside the Intel chip. So it does speed up a little bit, okay? So, but you still feel laggy because you can see the layers here, okay? Whatever requests coming in from your application, okay, it will go to your emulated environment, okay? Okay, inside you see, this is, let's say this hypervisor here is your VirtualBox. VirtualBox, and then but under VirtualBox you cannot run an app. You have to install an OS. So we call that guest OS. And then under guest OS, then you write your app. So if you run any application, it has to it basically needs to provide the requests and receive info from the hardware. But see the amount of layer it has to go through. It has to go through your guest OS. It has to go to your VirtualBox. It has to go to your Windows OS before being passed to the hardware. So this is the things that, and also all the network, the memory address translation, and also the interception of the system calls, right? Has to go through all this layer. So type 2 hypervisor is very easy to use, but the performance is not that great. Okay, even though with modern hardware. But you look at type 1 hypervisor. What's missing? What's missing is the layer here, which is the host OS, which means the hypervisor, I think Microsoft Hyper 5 or Hyper V is this type, or Zen. Zen also open source one. Runs directly on top of the hardware. Okay, and then you can install your guest OS. So there are fewer layers. So if you already know this is your PC, you already know you want to run multiple OS, you want better performance, you install the hypervisor directly on your hardware. Okay, but you just want to test this one, type 2 is okay, but you want long term, type 1 is better. So a lot of the server installation with virtualization usually will go for type 1 hypervisor. All right, so that's a brief explanation about that. Well, let's come back to our question paper, right? So here, the third paper here also talks about bare metal hypervisor and hosted hypervisor. So now you know what is bare metal, type 1. Type 1, hosted is type 2, right? So if you want to find a Word document just now that I was using for explanation, is inside your Google Classroom. I should be there. I've already uploaded last time. Okay, early when we are doing the installation. Okay, so whatever I was talking about earlier on, so you discuss the differences lah. Okay, number 10 marks. So you need to write a little bit more. Okay, and some of the marks come from the diagram. And the diagram just now lah, the one I was showing you. Okay, one I was showing you the diagrams with type 1 and type 2, or bare metal and hosted hypervisor. That's the diagrams that you need to draw lah. Okay, let's go to B. When misused either inadvertently or with malicious intent. Inadvertently means how to say this, accidentally, right? Not planned. Okay, or this one with intent. Intent means you plan for it. Malicious means with bad intention. So malicious intent, okay, whether you accidentally or you intentionally with a bad intention. Super user accounts can cause catastrophic damage upon a system or entire organization. What is a super user? Well, yeah, the root, the real user. Last time a lot of you actually did this, mentioned this, because you did the security part, the OS security part, where you compare between Windows and Linux, and in both, your conclusion in both also giving the user to use root or system admin by default without any restriction is bad. Okay, catastrophic damage can happen even if you have no intention to actually do those damage, because simply maybe you make a mistake. And for example, you do rm-f at the root folder, then you delete everything, and you're allowed. Why? Because you're the root user. Okay, and a lot of in Windows, for normal user, this happen. They have super user account or system admin account in Windows, and they go and delete files willy-nilly, because last time we know under Windows system 32, we delete anything there, our Windows cannot boot up already. Okay, so less likely users are going to go and kacau there lah. But nowadays installation also save it under user directory. There's the more important one is actually hidden. But if the user happen to unhide the folder, mistakenly go inside there and delete something, certain apps will not work. It's not catastrophic, but catastrophic means your OS crash, cannot work already. So maybe want to delete something, then delete something inside Windows, okay? Or in Linux case, under etc, okay, under even under /user /etc, all this /dev, okay. Normally, normal user won't be able to do that, but if you are root or system administration, rights, then yes. Okay, so whenever you see a justify and you see a agree, okay, there's no really right answer, okay, as long as you can justify. Okay, pick the one that you're not on the debating team. Pick the one that you think is easier for you to justify, right? For example, for me, yes, I agree, right? Super user account is very dangerous. Why? Because I can easily make mistake, and I can do actions that cause irreparable damage onto the operating system. Then I can give an example lah. For example, in Linux, if I'm root, if I do rm-f and then in the root folder, okay, then I could have deleted any one of the system directory. Okay, so again, you must, we talk about you must here. Where is it? Was up here, up here. Not here, here maybe. We have to see the you must. I think somewhere here. So I remember I seen it earlier. Creating a user again. Okay. Oh yeah, here, question 2. Here it mentioned you must as well. So here again, you must again. So that means permission of a user file for files and directory, okay, and creation of default permission is important that you know this inside out, because any part of that particular topic can be asked, right? Okay, there's nothing much I can talk about here, because here, depending on whether you know the commands or not, that's it, right? So here, for this one, okay, identify the file permission of files 023. So if UMask is 0023, what is the default permission given to a file? You must affect the default permission of a file. So when you create a file, touch is a popular way to create an empty file. So touch file 023, basically you need to consider the ending of this UMask, which is now is 0023, with the default file permission. Okay, you end them, and then you get the file permission for newly created file. All right, and then for directory. Okay. All right. So this one, just write a link command to set. I think you can find this this command, right? And so on. This one all you have to be able to get the information from our slides, right? How to set permission. All right. So ACL is the attempt, okay, by Linux to expand on the permission for files and directory, because right now we only have UGO. Without ACL, we only have UGO. It's good, but it's quite restrictive. Okay, UGO is like it's your own permission, group permission, and then others, right? But you cannot have granular control. I mean fine grain. Okay, so that means that's why we have access control lists. Okay, and we use FSCL to basically uh, set the permission, right? So so the ACL entries are given here, and then I think you rely on that, and then to set permission, the original permission, and then set permission to change permission. Okay, and also to be able to read what it means lah. So you can see identify effective file access permission, right? So this one is popular because here also we've seen it. So make sure you know how to do that. All right, and then here you are given identify type of special file mention that has been implemented in the directory named dir1. Okay, please check. Normal one is it's D is directory, and then RWX, S, and then RWX. What is S? Okay, I think you can find this answer also in your slides. All right, so commands, right? So tar to archive, backup this stored in there. So you want to tar and compress. Then you want to decompress. What is command? Then you want to change user login name from Alan to Alan name. What is the command? Okay, very straightforward. This one is just normal commands. Okay, it's not hard unless you don't remember what's the command. Then it's hard, right? But if you know the command, it's actually quite easy. Agree? Do you agree with me? Okay, there is no complexity here in this question. Okay, so this is to be honest, it's lower level command. I mean Bloom's level. Let's go to question 3. Write the commands again. This is this quota. Again here we already seen quota. Okay, 12 marks. Here how many marks? 25 marks. The whole question 3 is on this quota. Okay, of course not all because create group, create user. I think this one we already settled on it that all 3 requires that you know how to create all this group and user. Okay, and mounting partition. So better know how to do that. Permanent mount. Okay, permanent mount using fstab. Better know how to do that as well. And then here's the quota part, right? Right. So setting up the quota was also inside our practical test too. So I see that a lot of you don't have any problems with that. Okay. Yeah, straightforward, right? Straightforward. Because the moment you open your slides, you can see all this. Of course, during exam, you don't have access to your slides, so you have to remember. Unfortunately, you have to remember that. Just like when you have a programming test, you have to remember the language itself. All right, so let's go to question 4. Here, exactly similar to what you had in your practical test. Okay, you basically have to go into smb.config, and then you have to put in the name value pair as configuration inside the etc.smb.co.nf. All right, and all the information is required is there, so you just need to type out the configuration. Then continue. So you can see, okay, these questions mirror your practical tests. It's clear. Okay, and I'm pretty sure you can find, we've done this also during our practical. So please know how to do this lah. Okay, it's not the first time. If this come out, the question should very similar, but just that it's different, using different info lah, right? Okay, so RSS log come out here. I think here's this log here, RSS log as well. So please learn how to do this as well. Right, just now we talk about hang on, where is it already? Critical warning, info and errors here. All message except warning. This opposite only, yeah. Then critical level from Kern and Syslog facility sent to this file. All right, so the two are just commands. All right, so that's the end. So do you have? I believe you have a better idea of what to expect. So even better if you can go through each of the question, just to give yourself an idea of what coverage is. Okay, and then for each of the question, you list out all the topics and the subtopics inside the topics. What kind of question come out? How you will say a lot of theory is basically not really. But for me, I see a lot of commands actually. The theory is not hard. It's just asking you why you do this command. Okay, so the idea is, yes, you memorize the command, you know how to type the command, but you also need to know why you do that command, right? What is that command used for? Okay, because if you don't know, then no matter how many commands you know, but you don't know how to apply it, it's not very useful, again. So basically, it's more like asking you how to do this. Then what is the command to do it? But why do you do this? Something like that. Okay, that kind of theory, kind of question, right? So let's say you know special file permission, and they give you the example. So what is it? What does it mean? Right? So that kind of theory questions, right? Hypervisor and type 1 and type 2 is just the basic that you need to know, basically, when it comes to running virtualization. Virtualization right now is very important. It's actually one of the foundation for building a cloud. Cloud will not be possible without virtualization. Okay, especially the provision of virtualized hardware and operating system. Okay, yeah, Kelvin. The theory, luckily, the theory is not that hard. I'm just worried that you guys maybe hard to memorize some of the commands. Okay, but at least you know already. It's not like going into the slides, just trying to memorize everything. I think you know basically what is the coverage already, and for particular topic and subtopics, you know exactly what are the details. Okay, what are details needed, expected for you to know. Yeah. All right. Yes, Alvin, memorizing the command. But I see that your practical, a lot of you are able to memorize. Yeah. So the best way to memorize is not by reading, by typing it out into your Ubuntu virtual machine. You try that out, you type it out, because connection between hands-on and memorizing the command is very strong, right? It will allow your brain to ensure that, okay, this command is important because you type it out. You see, by reading, a lot of times, like reading newspaper, you can't really remember because it's just reading info, right? Yeah. Okay. Any questions? I mean, of course, between now and the exam, if you are while you're, I still want you to go through all this. If you find difficulties, I don't see any difficulties here because you have reference your slides and your practical test last time. You can actually try out the all the question on the computer, right? But if you do encounter something that you can't do, or maybe you're not sure, you still can contact me. Can contact me, and we can still do. We can, but we have to arrange that. We can still do maybe a short consultation, right? On your questions, lah. Or you can ask me through the WhatsApp group or PM. All right. Okay. So we're moving on into the second part. So for the G1, if you want to, I will change to ACN already to look at the past year questions for ACN. So today, basically, we're just going through the questions, right? And I'm guiding you what kind of question and how and what is expected. What should you revise, all right? And then I want you to do your own revision. And then if you encounter any problems, get back to me. All right. Okay. So let's. Okay. So before we move on to ACN, I have the finalized marks already. Yeah. So maybe what would be the best way? Should I give uh, all of you the marks together or separately, individually? I need to basically digitize or scan at least 3 samples out of each of the cost components. But uh, after I finish with that, I can put it in our pigeonhole. Okay, I'm still in the process of scanning it, but so the moment I finish the scan, I will put it in the pigeonholes. You can basically get it from there, huh? But the overall marks, I have it already. Okay, so not sure whether you want me to give as a whole or individual. Anyway, okay, all right. I can share. I can take a screenshot and then share in the WhatsApp group lah. Okay, the overall marks. Okay, right. So I'll do that later. So now I move on to ACM. By the way, I've already shared it in all the for system admin and also ACN. I've already shared it into our Google Classroom, so you can download from there rather than go to the repository at library. All right, so Noel, need to arrange with you and also a G1 or G1. I need to arrange with you second briefing for ITP. Arrange the date and time lah. Okay, later. Yes, second briefing. So just a little bit more info. Okay, and about the reports that you need to submit during the ITP itself. So we'll discuss it later. Yeah? The date and time to conduct it. We can conduct online lah, no problem. All right. So next, gonna do the ACN. If G1 want to remain, it's okay. If G1 wants to leave, it's okay also. So for G1, if you want to go G1, please do your SA. Attempt all three lah. Attempt all three. You still have time. Attempt all three of the system admin past year paper. Okay. if you can do all three, yeah, okay, then you should be secure to know that you can. Yeah, I'm sure you have no problems for the exam, right? When you're doing it, don't do it like normal. Okay, because you are still attempting it. Have your Ubuntu beside you so you can straight away um, type in. Okay, you're not sure about the command. All right. Right. So let's move on to ACN now. Open, share open all the. All right. So let's have a look. We have October